it's clear that many common strands and many common experiences here, especially most of us seem to be involved with social action or have been activists or whatever, even thinkers about politics and social action. And and again, many of you have mentioned meditation. Many of you have mentioned compassion and wisdom. So, first of all, I would like to, I'm sure those of us who are interested in Buddhism, Buddhist ideas, values, and are also activists at looking to change society, working against injustice in society, would have had this sort of, I won't say conflict, but this sort of thought, because when we start studying Buddhism, and even when we go a little bit advanced, you keep coming to this understanding, which is the first line in the Dhammapada of the Buddha. Everything proceeds from the mind. In fact, there are schools of Buddhism, traditions in Buddhism, that say that actually this whole outward existence, this whole outside world, is a projection of the mind. Now, keeping that philosophy aside, which is the mind-only school or the Yogacara school, if we just look at this idea that everything proceeds from the mind, and when we do meditation, we calm down, we become mindful, and then we look at things in a different way, this seems to reinforce this idea that yes, everything does proceed from the mind. Even when we come to karma, they say, okay, what's the intention? You kill for personal gain, you kill for retributive justice. So the social activist, the political person, including me, I mean, done lots of crazy things. Are we therefore to change the world, or have we to change our minds? Are we in the project of changing the world, or because we say we find Buddhist philosophy rational, healthy, bringing peace of mind, etc. Actually, the project should be to change your mind and everything will go away. You won't feel so frustrated about the cops wanting a bribe. So what if they make Fireflies into a COVID center? I mean, you change your mind, you just change your view of things. And then you say, well, even this injustice, what's happening to the Dalits, to the Adivasis, it all happens because of causes and conditions. So let's just work on changing the mind, things will improve. And then you have, of course, the philosophy start with yourself and then, outward. Some writers, I think David Loy has said, that we Buddhists have become very good at running things, hospices, hospitals, charity work. We go and write fact-finding reports sometimes. And he says it's like, you are living by the river, you're Buddhist, you're maybe a Buddhist Sangha over there. And all the time you find bodies floating in the river, people drowning, and you become very good at pulling people out of the river. You become very good at saving people who are drowning in the river. But you never once ask yourself the question, how come there are so many people in the river? Where are they all coming from, struggling like this? So if we go to this thing of how do we change ourselves to deal better with the outside world, then we need to apply the same concept about reality, namely that phenomena arise out of causes and conditions. And that these causes and conditions have a reciprocal, I'm using the word reciprocal or whatever you call it, a feedback loop, that what happens in the external world conditions you further. That conditioning makes you work in the external world, again in a certain pattern, which again reinforces your brainwashing, conditioning, whatever you call it. So, so that's one thing. But if we look at the concept in Buddhism of seeing reality as it is, then you would not ignore. You would not say reality is only my mind. And reality would be to find out the truth about why those bodies pop up every now and then in the river by your house. And wisdom and compassion. Now there are a few misconceptions also about wisdom. This is also one. I mean, if you get confused with this thing, do I have to change my mind or do I have to work to change the world? You know, if you work only to change the world and you do repetitive activist action along the same lines that you have been doing for decades, every possibility of burnout. And we know so many activist friends who have burnt out, who started with great aspirations, but it's just too tiring.